Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of AI Amigos Show. My name is Marina, and today, in our second live episode, I am, as always, with my two good friends, Gianchao and James. Guys, thanks for being here, as always.
Hey, everyone. Thanks, Marina.
Hey.
And we have the pleasure to receive a great guest today, Johannes, the CTO of Linity, and he joined us to talk a little bit about the use of AI in STEM education. Johannes, thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and happy to have a nice talk with you guys. And let's see.
Let's see how it goes. Well, Johannes is working on an application that is called Linity. It's helping people to learn STEM modules or STEM topics. And here I will throw the ball into the field. And I want to know, Johannes, what is your opinion about the new price of ChatGPT? I don't know if you heard that OpenAI is planning to charge up to 20,000 euro per month, for for using.
I signed up for 5 of them, by the way.
for using ChatGPT in different levels, like for PhD, masters, technical, and so on. My first comment was they are targeting this wrong. When we are students, we are so poor, so I don't know who can actually pay for that. But what is your opinion? You have been here and there, so maybe you have something to say about it.
Yeah, I think that OpenAI got under a lot of pressure lately by other model providers, DeepSeek, but also Gemini, with the context window that is just ridiculously large. And so they have to come up with something new to upsell, because otherwise for some basic model the market is diminishing, because at some point I think basic models like the new GPT, they will be commoditized. So they have to do something to sell you more premium stuff. And I mean, just stating, we will have a PhD level LLM, and it will be awesome. I think it's a good marketing move, and they yet have to prove that they can develop an LLM that is worth $20,000 per month, because you can hire a lot of people that earn less and are doing a good
exactly.
job.
The salary is not that high.
I think the PhD candidate or research rate in Europe is only 1,500 a month or something. It's not a lot of money.
Yeah.
You can hire
1,500 a year, Jan, a year. So then the 15,000 euro per year, or 12,000.
I said 1,500 a month. That's the salary, right? So
and in some cases even less. So imagine you can hire a PhD advanced researcher or something like this that can do some part-time job for you and would be extremely qualified, and still you would pay less. But my point here is, who do you think that they are really targeting? The companies, the people who are studying and they need some help to write papers, for example, or to develop new ideas? What do you think? And this question is for everybody, not just for Johannes, because for me it's hard to think about paying 20,000 euro per month.
Well, I mean, for me, I think there's a fundamental issue wrong, and what I mean by that is that, when you look at PhD, you're supposed to add to the body of knowledge. You're supposed to come up where there's a gap in whatever area you specify in. So it's almost like you have to innovate. And can an LLM model innovate?
Can it? Well, not on its own, I would say.
No.
It would be a bit hard.
Maybe in the future, but to answer your question, I think that also a lot of the stuff is targeted towards new investors, because OpenAI is burning a lot of money, and it's burning the money very fast. And I think they want to attract fresh capital before they run out of money. And the old we will build AGI and then ask it to how we generate profit does not work anymore. So everything will be fine once we hit that PhD level models and earn 20,000 per year. Trust us.
I think it's 20,000 per month.
Per month.
Per month. So it's 240,000 a year. So they probably asked it like, how can we make our profit back? And it says, hey, charge 20,000 a month.
Well,
Yeah.
so as an idea it's good, but I don't know if it is actually realistic. But James and I, we have been lecturers for for a while and until recently. And what we have seen in the classroom, and this was the big crash, between some lecturers and ourselves, is that some lecturers that were totally against using ChatGPT said, no, 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 we don't allow the students, we cannot allow them. And then what we say, like James and I, is okay, but AI is there. If you're working, you're using this. So then why wouldn't you use it in the college of your assessment? So then it should be the other way around. Like we should actually teach them how to use AI to augment their capacities, right? Yes or no? But and here
Was you asking Johannes, or you asking?
I'm asking like kind of in general, because I agree, but also I said in the other hand that for the coding part, for example, if you have all the time the help from DeepSeek or ChatGPT, it's really hard that you remember or really understand the logic.
I think.
But what is your point of view?
I think that many students are currently facing a hard challenge, and they have a temptation that is like insanely high, because for us, we were like grown ups, we had already done our degree and we learned, and then ChatGPT came out and we can research everything and say, hey, what is, I don't know, give me an example for this with cats and dogs. But for students, let's go back maybe to high school. For them, they have now the option to either do all the assignments with the help of LLMs and don't learn anything, because you don't learn anything if you give the homework to your LLM and then just write it down, but get a good grade, because like for some reason many teachers, like I don't know, they believe that they will see when it's done by AI and they don't care that much. So you will get better grades. Or you do it yourself, you learn something, but you risk getting a worse grade and not getting a good job later, or like getting ripped off some opportunities. So we're living now in an age or in a system where if you like cheat with an LLM in school or in university, it is incentivized, and the hard way is learning on your own, where you would actually learn something. And I think if you ask it for guidance, like, hey, I'm stuck in with that, can you give me a small hint, but don't tell me the full solution, it can like help you maybe a bit. But like, to be honest, do you think that like 16-year-old high school students use the LLMs like that?
The temptation is so big.
They almost feel like LLM later on is going to be an interface for us to connect to everything in front of us.
Well,
you know what I mean?
The work level is going to be expected more, right? You're going to expect it to do more, because I mean, like for example, you used to do calculations by hand. So if you had an exam, the exam would have to be, the questions asked, you have to give less questions, more time. But then the calculator came, so you can add more questions, less time, or same time. Where I think with ChatGPT, it'll be the same thing. If you use it, it's a tool to help you, but you have to tell it where you want it to go, and the expectation of the work that you do has to then increase, right? I mean, it's like when the internet, before you had to go to the library and you had to, before Google came out, and you had to go and read books and find references and read a bunch of papers. and now you just get a Google and you're like, hey, I want a paper on, AI mathematics. And you get, 100, whatever that comes out, and then you go and just read them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like you're expected. So instead of having 5 references, I want 50 references,
And it could actually give it for you, but the thing is how many you are capable to read. Guys, I would like just to do like a little comment here for our audience that are live watching us. Feel free to add any questions, any comments for us, and I would throw the question here to our AI field. And continuing with this, it is true what you say, James, that the capabilities could actually change, but they also believe that the education system is very different depending on the place of the world that you are. Johannes, you have been traveling a little bit with your company, so maybe you can tell us a little bit about what do you see different between Europe and the latest countries that you visited? I think you were in China, in India, maybe here in Europe, in another country different as well. So
Yeah, it's like as someone grown up and born in Germany, it was interesting to find out that education is not free in most parts of the world. Like we don't have to go that far away, but even like in Spain, high school is ridiculously expensive and not many can afford. And for example, if we go to India, where we have been like 2 weeks ago, even for primary school, you pay a few €1,000 per semester for your children, and
wow.
like that's really expensive, like especially if you take into consideration the pay parity. And what I found really interesting was also like the attitude towards education in like I have the feeling that in the Western world in many places it's more something you do for yourself, you need it maybe for a qualification, but it's more like yeah, I have to do it kind of thing. But in many other countries it's like having good education is the only way to get out of poverty, to be able to afford a life basically, because that's where the money is. So some guy in China told me, which I found quite interesting, like when you go to Germany and the school like is not happening because the teacher is sick, like the high school students, they are happy that they don't have to go to school. But like in other countries, for example China, it is like an anecdote, I don't know if it's true, short disclaimer,
Maybe
but
Shen Chao can actually mention whether it could be real or not.
he would say that like it's not that they are like really unhappy or sad, but they're a bit like, oh no, I need to learn that, I wanted to learn that. They feel of being robbed something, because like they think that education is something that helps them to you know what I try to tell.
Yeah, totally understand. Because when I grew up in China and then looking at my kids now are totally different. My kids is 9 and my son is 9. It was doing a multiplication single numbers. Like when I was 9, we do pies and all that sort of crazy stuff already now. And there's an element of it in China. I totally understand, because the social ladder is not formed that well like any other developed country. Knowledge can break through the social ladders. That's what happening in China, and people do think better knowledge, it will get better job, and it's things different. But especially in Ireland, I think public school might not be as good as private school. I know some top end in Dublin private school, they go to 6.5 days. They have half day off, the kids. That's, you pay like what, 30 grand, 40 grand a year.
Wow.
So they do really study hard in there. But like public school is not really.
This is not exhausting for the kids as well. I mean, 6.5 days is kind of too much. I cannot even imagine in college.
Yeah, but in those schools, those are students get offered straight away to Oxford, or someone just like taking over their family business in Dubai, all that kind of kid. They really do push them, So
no, yeah, of course. And I have a question here. Maybe Johannes, you can tell us a little bit, because you work with a product related to that. Like Linity is helping people to learn in a different way. If you can mention like a use case, if you said, okay, I'm a lecturer and I want to use AI somehow, can an application help? An application that is not ChatGPT to ask, okay, write the curriculum for me or whatever, like something that can really help to learn. Maybe you can tell us something.
Yeah, like obviously we have Linity, which I can say a few words very short, but more general, I think that is like how I view AI in general. I view it as a tool, like for example, to get ideas that I have in my head, or like I don't know, if you want to, sometimes you want to explain something to someone and you would think, oh, that would be a nice visualization of it. But the problem is that the visualization is in your head, and you're not Michelangelo or like some other crazy artist, so you can draw the visualization. So you're stuck with like some words here, and it's like that, but imagine and this and that. And I think that for that, Gen AI is really a powerful tool to help you getting your creativity into something that you can resonate with others. Because in the past, you would need to talk with a designer. You would tell him, yeah, I think something like that. He would do it. And then you'd say, yeah, can you change it like that? And it would be like a lot of time consuming to work like that. But
Totally.
With LLMs, you get like, give me a thing, no, maybe this and that. And you get like faster to like something that can be acceptable for like graphics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So
a minimum variable products, right? Yeah.
I see the value there, but on the other hand, I think it has to be combined with other machine learning techniques that I don't know for some reason got totally like in the public mind. Nobody knows anymore that other machine learning stuff even exists. It's all LLMs right now. Every AI expert, I know all LLMs. So
it's like everything is generative AI in text, because nobody's talking about the images as well, that can be generated with generative AI. Everyone talks about the text and the prompts and the stuff. So
yeah. For example, what we do at Linnet here, to maybe say a few words to that, we basically say, okay, we want to give like teachers or creators, we don't call them teachers anymore, because we believe in Montessori, where like the teacher is a person who creates an environment that people can learn in. So you provide content that other people can interact with, but that's like just a bit of semantics, not really. So you can create content. You have some nice idea to explain vector spaces with some nice animation. You explain the idea, you prompt it to an LLM, you have some creation and edit tools to create the visualization. And then you maybe see the code for it, or like the image, you change some stuff because you want to have the colors a bit different, and you push it into the content cloud. And we then create like a huge graph-based model of content pieces, where every learner on the platform, on the other hand, says what he wants to learn and gets navigated through that content cloud. And based on the interactions, it sounds a bit boring, and I'm like, we're in an AI podcast, but it's like simple statistics. It's based on like in the end of it, it's based on an average and weighted average, because we basically say, okay, depending on how you interacted in the past, learners have like a difference from each other. And this learner is very similar to you, so that means he probably will react to the content similar. So we can basically the mathematical trick is more in the calculating the distance between learners, like how similar are two learners, than in the actual statistics. But that's like another topic. And then we can basically we measure the interactions, and we always give people explanations that are very helpful, exercises that have the right level of it, and that's the general idea of it. So the creators, the teachers, they can say, this is like the general goal, I've provided some content, but maybe another teacher also provides similar content that helps some students better. So we have one big giant connected content cloud where everyone gets the content that suits themselves the best without the need to search for themselves. And we combine that with generative AI for the creation, and also for, as I said before, asking questions, where we have also context awareness. So when you are at an exercise and you ask for help, the AI does not give you the solution, but maybe gives you a small hint and say, hey, have you thought about that? So
Sorry, we have a question in the chat.
Yeah, I wanted to pop it up there.
Yes.
1 second. Here.
Yes. The question is Montessori applicable only in high school or in college too? So, well, you throw the topic, Johannes.
Does someone else of you want to answer?
Well, I assume that it could be like for any age, but
any
I'm not
level,
the expert in this. So
I can answer it in a bit of a different way. I think yes, just to foreshadow that. But for example, negative numbers, they were a huge issue in like, it was like something only the best mathematicians in the world would deal with. And even like imaginary numbers like would have been like used before negative numbers in like professor level mathematics, because the existence of something negative was like for people more than like a calculus trick than like really something that should exist. So, and now we're teaching it to ground school kids. And I think I found it funny when you taught that in China, you in ninth grade, you used to do pi and calculations. I think you can also teach linear algebra in a way lower level. And I think the philosophy of Montessori on experimental, playful, getting feedback on what you do and learning in your own speed, learning in the interaction also with others, I think the philosophy is applicable in any grade. Like basically we all big giant kids in our hearts, and if you don't like restrict your curiosity and you basically learn with curiosity, then you will learn. I mean, that's how many people learn computer science. They want to build some cool game and they start out of curiosity, self-explanatory, they talk with other people, and they learn quite effective.
You know, there was an article that I read recently. We were discussing about this between Jen Chao, James, and I, about the use of AI in the classroom and for learning is actually affecting the critical thinking. So for the coming generations, I can associate that because, you know, like before we used to do all the calculations by hand, then with the calculator, then with programming. Now ChatGPT can calculate it for you, or Copilot. But do you think, guys, that it will actually happen? Or
Well, I mean, Microsoft came out with a paper that basically said it's kind of like the end of critical thinking, which I thought was a bit of an exaggeration myself.
Okay.
We're gonna pop another question out there now.
But I think it's pretty much similar to that one.
Okay.
So then, yeah, it's like related to Montessori as well.
It's the same question, just in Spanish.
Yeah, puedes preguntar esto. It means like, can you ask this? So then this question was for you, Johannes.
Audience.
Someone else is sending like a hand, a high five.
You see that, Johannes? You see that where everyone's? You can see on the side there.
Yeah.
Yes, I can see. But I did answer the question of Montessori.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
then,
yeah. I just show.
Yes. So then, yeah.
Oh,
Well,
probably asking about university as well. I think maybe
yes.
it's the style of learning is basically what you're talking about. So I'd say it's applicable at any age.
Yeah, I'm just gonna show all the questions, right? Just the respect of our audience. And when they pop in something, I will show it. Back to the classroom. I think recently I did like a little research too, right, for my kids to learn stuff like a geography. She typing like how does mountain formed, and then it created reports with PowerPoints and everything he can read through. I think in the same way, maybe there are teachers as well would like to teach better a target audience. Let's say, oh, those are the knowledge, maybe 5-year-old, 6-year-old, the way I explain, they will understand. And I think it's a great tool for the teachers as well to use. It's basically how you use it is the question, isn't it?
Well, so at the end of the day, I believe, you know, because this Montessori style, I remember that it was used for the kids because my sister was constantly telling me, no, you know, I want my kids to learn with the Montessori. They need to learn how to cook, how to do this, how to do that. So do you think that this kind of technique will make the instructors or lecturer disappear in the near future? Johannes, you had an image that was showing the difference between the times, you know, like how people were learning before and what we are learning now. I don't know if it's possible to share it because I think it's very interesting, actually.
Yeah, I'm sharing it now.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
we can discuss about it, but that is how I currently view that not high school, but like university education has developed over the last 200 years. Basically, we still have big classrooms where someone is telling something in front of a huge audience, and then you have to work on your own to like do some exercises later. You get back to the big classrooms. Maybe you have some tutoring in between, and we also have that process digitalized. But the principle of someone teaching something to a big audience in like one general speed, where everyone has then to learn it and prepare, think about it later on and do some exercises, has not really changed, even with modern technology and live streaming and everything. Like there is some the last 2 years, I think there is something going on during COVID, and afterwards there was some movement in it, but like large scale education is basically still the same.
And I have a question related to our podcast last week that I can connect with this one. Why there are no women as a lecturer or as instructor here in these photos? I see only men.
We're
Chan,
all
chan.
working. We're all working. The wives are at home at the moment.
No.
No, don't say that. Come
Ciao.
on.
Oh no.
I think it has something to do with the bias in the training set. To
It's
be
not
honest,
just that. I'm in my opinion, it's because, of course, this works with probabilities. Well, you are a mathematician as well, Johannes. So then it works with probabilities, and it is more likely to have maybe like a man in IT, for example, than a woman nowadays. And this is like a kind of statistical numbers that we cannot change. But anyway, sorry that I just dropped the question, but I had to ask.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say there, Johannes, like that was one of the things when Marina said, we lectured, and one of the things the lecturer would say, when you looked at pre-industrial revolution, you would go into your family's trade, and this is why you would get like, in English, I would don't know about German, but I would imagine it would be very similar that you would get your surname based on your family trade. So you either if you were very wealthy, you could get a private tutor, but if not, you would learn as an apprentice to the family trade. So you had like the tanners who made like leather, and you had the coopers with shoes, and the smiths that made. And then we went into the Industrial Revolution, where you had one teacher, many students, right? So you go to that, and when we lecture, we knew like you could go very deep into a subject, but you had students that could be teaching the class, that they were very intelligent, and then you had students where on the other end, if we look at the bell curve, if we're saying on outside 2 standard deviations onto the right or the left, and you say, okay, these outliers that would go and say, right, they're really struggling in class, but 95% of the students are right in the middle of that bell curve. So you as a lecturer focus on the 95% of the students, and unfortunately it leaves students behind. But where AI can come in is that you can be the personal tutor as such, right? But my question to you, Johannes, is that now in light of the EU AI Act coming out, and I noticed that on the very top of the pyramid, the risk pyramid, is education, where it's either prohibited or limited use. How are you guys at Litany working around that act, the EU AI Act?
in different things. Basically, in our product, we have our learn management system decoupled from the LLMs, and we don't do any training with user data. We're having statistic inference, but if a user deletes his data or says, I don't want my data to be used, we can make sure that every data point is deleted, and not even in any training data or something like that. And we will always keep it that way, because we say data privacy is a big thing. The next point is transparency. Like we don't have a data privacy statement yet, but all our test users, they know for what we collect their data, and they give us their data on a free will, and really don't have an issue with it. And when they request that they don't want to be part of the test batches anymore, we just delete them out and all their data gets deleted. And I think together with that, we are quite safe for the AI Act, because basically
and GDPR as well, because like we had there,
Yes.
you could withdraw consent at any stage, and if I withdraw consent, the right to erasure, you erase all my data, and and then of course if you're dealing with minors, that's another layer of complexity of data as well. That's very sensitive to those who are vulnerable in society.
Yes.
Okay, guys, thank you so much. We just reached to the end of our episode. We are running out of time. Thank you, Johannes, for coming with us. It was a pleasure having you here. I hope that you had fun with us. And
it was very fun. It was nice meeting you all. If you
and
want to talk again in the future, I would be happy to be re-invited maybe in a year or so, and then I can give an update on how the transformation of
it would definitely be great.
How is Unity going?
It would be definitely great to see how you progressed in a year, 6 months even.
Yes, exactly. Because here everything is evolving super fast, and it is great that we convince you enough to actually have wishes to come back and talking to us.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
So, Hannes, thank you for taking the time. Jean-Chao, James, always a pleasure. And thanks for our audience that asked some questions and sent some high five in there for Johannes. So,
and
thank you so
we got
much.
some likes as well. We got some likes.
Yes. Well, that's actually good. Thank you, guys. And see you in the next episode.
See you guys.
Bye.
See you.